Good morning, everyone. Hello. I'm back. Apologies, I had a bit of a break. I think I had a sore throat for almost 2 weeks. You would have heard on my last stream. I think after that, that's when my throat crashed. I took the next week and a bit off work. So I hope everyone's well. Make sure if you want to ask me a question in the chat stream on my right, on your right, you start your question, put a whole bunch of emojis just so I can see it visually on screen. And I'll just put the chat right in front of the camera lens so I can feel like I'm actually looking at you guys when I'm reading your questions. It was funny, I was going through some of the comments under a few of my videos, and one recently, I think it was about marriage. Someone left a comment under the video sort of saying that they found marriage fulfilling. They had, even though they'd gone through a divorce, they're glad they got their children out of it. They have visitation rights. They get on okay with their ex-wife. Things aren't too bad, but they wouldn't change it for the world. And that's fine. I've never actually... I suppose you'll always get drive-by commenters and trolls that aren't really paying attention to the comments. Sorry, more importantly, the video. You know, people have their biases and, you know, their reflexes to is to defend them as though you insulted a member of their family. But I've always said I have nothing against people who more importantly, I have nothing against marriage. It's just not for me, because when I really reflect on it, it's not giving me anything. I don't want it. I've never really wanted it. You know, I always held it back because I wanted to want it, really, the way I know I should. When you see people who really want kids or really want to get married, you can tell they dearly want it. And I knew I had to be that way too. But just going along with it, like a lemming, I knew it was too big a thing. You can't just try it. It's not like you say, well, I'm going to try out this bag of chips, and if I don't like it, no big deal, I get on with my life. That's actually a cliff you jump off that there's no coming back from. So you better make sure it's something you want to do, that there's a soft landing. Anyway, I sort of replied to the guy who commented. He was quite polite. And I didn't attack him. I kind of said, good for you. I'm glad things have turned out. And it was a really long paragraph basically explaining that it's not for me. I don't hate kids or marriage or traditional institutions and things like that. Yeah, we can talk about how much responsibility and work men do compared to the woman in the marriage. But prior, men knew this. And if you had a decent enough woman, they'd say, I don't care. I'll do 80 to 90% of the work, and at least she does 10, and I'm happy with that. And at least she respects me. She doesn't talk back to me. If I'm to take all responsibility, I'm going to be the authority, and she's fine with that because she knows how much I do. The difference today is that there's absolutely very little respect. There's very little a man gets out of it, and if the marriage dissolves, it's completely awful for a guy. Well, when you think about it, there's every incentive for a woman to leave her man, and if the statistics show you when she does, she benefits from it. If she doesn't want the man around, she gets rid of him. There's a benefit, and she gets money, the house, alimony, the kids. She gets everything. Mostly that he contributed to and more to. He gets it, and he has to continue paying. Conveniently, she still has the kids, so it's not really for her. It's for the kids, but she controls the money. She can control how much the kids get and how much she might siphon out and use for herself too. So I didn't sort of say all that. Sorry, I'm sidetracking. I basically said it's not for me, given my personality and my lifestyle and the autonomy I wish to have. More power to people who still want to get married. That's fine. Just make sure you find as good a person as you possibly can, because the trend out there that's going down and down and down doesn't lie in terms of marriage and divorce and who it divorces. And I just said, it's not for me. And I just signed off and I said, look, I've got more and better things to do than chase female strangers around, or, chase female strangers around for marriage. And you just get the typical shaming from a woman. A female responded and said, "Human, I feel sorry for you." And it just grates my gears. Whenever a woman says that, she's signaling to everyone, look, I'm really mature and above everyone. I feel sympathy for this guy. But what a woman does when she says, I feel sorry for you, and you really haven't said anything wrong, you've just expressed your point of view, is I want you to feel shame because a woman is disappointed in you. I want you to think the opposite to what you think. Well, no, F you. I'm telling you why, because I know myself as a person, why this lifestyle's not for me. What's next? I'm going to tell you why a gay lifestyle's not for me, and a gay guy's going to tell me I feel sorry for you, human. It's about the same thing. Thank you for the super chat. Strength in faith. His comment is still getting over a breakup. Any tips on letting go of the idea of someone, and also how to rediscover your authentic self? Love the content. Firstly, don't get hung up on the words. There's a lot of buzzwords going around, like finding your authentic self and finding your purpose and your meaning and stuff like that. They're very highfalutin terms that can keep rebooting your hard drive unnecessarily. Like, you can put a lot of pressure on you trying to have to find your purpose and meaning. It can already feel like you're failing. You've been kicked to the ground. Life's really sort of really giving you a left hook, and you've got enough basic things to think about to pick yourself up without adding the world's expectations of finding purpose on your shoulder and finding your authentic self. Unfortunately, the best thing that's going to help you let go mentally of someone after a breakup is time. Spend time around good friends and family. Don't stay on your own if you can help it. Don't stay in your head. That's one of the worst things you can do, because usually the voice in your head will tell you everything that went wrong. Hopefully you've got good friends and family, or distract yourself. Don't stay in your head. I remember, because for me, I'm a thinker, and staying in my own head is not a good thing, where the best thing is to get out of my head. Being intellectual, thinking, having sort of some sort of mental curiosity, that's great after you've settled, and then you can soberly make sense of things. But when you're going through pain, that voice in the head will destroy you. Hey, Mr. Highway. Ted 1775, human. It is fascinating to listen to the videos of Stardust. He was ahead of the curve on feminism and marriage. Yeah, very astute and smart fellow, Stardust. I remember when I was sort of sifting through a lot of Manosphere content a couple of years before I decided to make a channel. And Stardust was one of the standouts, as well as Spetsnaz, Barbarossa, Paul Proteus, a couple of other guys. Even John the Other, I remember, he's still up as well. Although I don't think he's making his regular content, but he's still good value. Eric says, I love traditional institutions. The problem is they aren't around anymore. Hit the like button, yeah. It's free, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. I'm okay, guys. In terms of my throat infection, it was a lot worse. Just after the last live stream I did. You could tell in my voice back then. Just listen to the last live stream. I was sounding terrible. It's cool if my voice didn't keep dropping out and you could kind of retain that really low baritone. Although it's probably not that great. It sounds good in theory, but oh, no, actually not bad having that old whiskey voice. Yeah, Mr. Highway says, when a woman says, I feel sorry for you, it's a backhanded way of saying someone is inferior to you. Yeah, I'm better than you, and shame on you. There's no real intellectual comeback. There's no sort of other side of the conversation that wants to rebut what I said. You know, I have nothing wrong with someone saying, look, I think differently. I don't think you're correct because of A, B, and C, and this is why I think that. And I can have a nice conversation with someone. Like I've said, I've had a couple of really interesting conversations with first wave feminists, and they were fairly level-headed because they got taught tough love in terms of, yeah, you want to have every single aspect of a man's life and be responsible for that man's life, for a man's life as a woman, because women weren't living that life, and they wanted to be responsible, even walking down a dark alley at night. But today's coddled children who just want, it gets tiring. Just the Guy says, finding your authentic self is just society trying to manipulate you to do what they want. I don't know if I'd agree with that. I think it's just putting undue pressure on you, where you're going through enough without having to deal with how you present yourself to others. You know, if you're just focused on what went wrong in your life and you trying to get better, and then you have to worry about your authentic self, or what are you doing with your life in relation to other people? Is it presentable enough? All that kind of stuff. It's kind of like it doesn't matter. I mean, when you've got, let's use my my sore throat and cold that I had recently. While you're feeling crap, when you can't get out of bed and you haven't got the energy or mental capacity for much at all, do you really care about, you know, how presentable your shoes are, or how well your suit looks on you? It's like, no, you're going through something at the moment. I'll deal with that other stuff. Yeah, when you're going through pain, it's kind of like dealing with the low-level Maslow needs. You have to really deal with them. They're important. And then later on, you can deal with you can deal with that extra stuff of the window dressing of finding yourself and your purpose, and which is good. You want to be happier and better, and you want to evolve upwards in your own life. But XYZCT says, how many INTJs are here? Well, I'm not an INTJ. Yeah, that's another thing. People getting hung up on defining themselves by the MBTI categorization. You know, and of course, most people on the internet are the sought after definitions. that are highly intellectual, creative, mature, all those kind of things. The the most popular ones. I'm not saying that some of you guys aren't, but it's kind of like when people have, when they tell you I had a dream, and in my past life I was Cleopatra or Julius Caesar. They like to tell you about those things, that they're never a peasant, they're never an average person. Yeah, I wanted to talk about, I suppose, the last couple of videos I made, because there were a few comments that got me thinking about how much pressure guys put on themselves about the dissolution of relationships. And fair enough, if it was your fault, or a large portion was your fault, take responsibility for the parts that objectively were your fault and what you can learn from, and do them differently, or don't do them going forward. So I've mentioned this a few times, is a good way when I'm feeling stressed or confused about something, is to not just sort of see what you can do about it, is when you can't get out of that rut, is to step outside like a third person observer and go, okay, what's the situation here? And then you start looking at it almost dispassionately for a moment at least, and then you can start seeing what steps you can take to go forward. It's the same with a relationship that you've just broken up over. You blame yourself. The woman obviously blames you too. So it can be a lot for a guy because a lot of guys, because we have to deal with the real world, we have to deal with it's raining, bring something in from the cold, tend to the livestock, look at the weather, it's cold, put on a jacket. We have to deal with external reality much, much more, and traditionally we have. So our brains and our psyche is conditioned to be literal. We believe what we see, we believe what we feel. Women, because their psyche's been conditioned in the cave, in the warmth of the home, protected by the home and things like that. And because women are generally the more passive gender, where they survive by words and manipulation and saying what they need to make themselves feel good, to get other people to be agreeable with them, to often manipulate to get their way. So they don't survive by doing, they survive by saying and manipulating. And that's not to say that women are always nefarious, that men are saints and women are villains. But it's just to realize that it's not always your fault. I think that's why that moment in Good Will Hunting was so powerful, where he had to kind of really not take so much responsibility. It's not always him. So a good way I've found is that when you're in that spot, and as much as possible, it works with so many aspects of life, where if you can step outside of yourself and be the observer, you can assess the situation. Then you can actually say, okay, no, that's my responsibility. I'll take that on. I'll learn from that. But what's the point of learning from something that you didn't do, that wasn't your fault? You know, what's the point of these games of, well, she said that it was okay to do this, and so I did it because I wanted to, and I thought she was okay with it. But secretly, when a woman says she's okay with this, really, a man should know it means she's not okay with it. Or when you ask her what's wrong, she says nothing. And you know, if you keep asking, you'll get her angry. So you don't want to get her angry. And later on, she's angry anyway, because you should have known it wasn't nothing, it was something. Objectively, those kind of situations, it's good to step outside and say, well, you know, I wasn't wrong. Under the golden rule, I treat people the way I want to be treated. I asked, they told me. I took them at their word. If they're lying, it's not my problem. Well, I refuse. I keep getting told by people that, yeah, I know a woman says this or acts this way, but human, you know what that means. I don't care. I am so tired of women acting like little scared children in a world that they control and tell you women run the world, as Beyonce says, but they're still too scared to tell you exactly what they feel and what they want, because they don't want to deal with any kind of negative feelings. Well, welcome to the world of men, ladies. You want to have all this independent stuff externally and make your own money and be out there and enjoy life and have adventures. Not everything's positive. I think this is why women are getting more and more lobotomized, taking more and more antidepressants and things like that. It's because they're having a hard time dealing with it. And it's hard to have sympathy for them when they keep acting like children and blaming you for everything. I refuse to make my life worse by taking on the responsibility of women's bad choices, even for themselves. Like if the relationship breaks up, I'll take my part, but you're going to eat your part of the crap sandwich. I'm not. Whichever way you look at it, if you care about the person, she's not going to be a better person moving forward. She's just going to waste more of her own life in the misery of treating the next guy badly like that. So even in the positive aspect, if you care about someone in the relationship, you did care, and it's over, unfortunately, the best thing you can do is make them accountable. So hopefully they have something to chew on. Then later on, like you can make your life better if you choose to be with another person. "1968 Barracuda says he's an INFJ and it means squat." Yeah, I'm an INFJA, if anyone's interested. Yeah, I don't hold much credence to those things anyway. Look, it's it's an interesting thing, but I think people wear it like a really big, showy part of their personality, as though it explains a lot. It's interesting. It's kind of like going back to your childhood. It's interesting. It can explain a few things, but don't wear it in the present. It can be an illustrative thing to use, but don't sort of wear it like a personality. Yeah, Mr. Highway says it's like all the guys who claim they are omega males. Yeah, Ted 1775 says, "In my past life, I was Alexander the Great." Yeah, a little bit like a lot of guys today, whenever they talk about men built society, like you didn't. People want to become these things that are lauded. Hey, Boffin, how you going, man? Boffin says, "When a relationship ends, men must analyze, and that takes time." That's correct. Women need only enough time to lay blame. That is why women are able to move on quickly to the next relationship. Yeah, and also, women need shelter biologically, so they need to attach themselves to the next male. Where are they going to get their next meal? This is what their instincts and biology is telling them. Where's shelter? Whereas men are used to the external, and they can relax about that stuff. They're dealing with the psyche more. Women, their brains just kind of like switch off. Romantically and mentally, women are sharks. Men tend to sort of assess the past, what went wrong. They have to learn from it. As I've said in videos, if men don't consider thought and going over things and being intellectual, we can be homeless. We need to understand. We can't go forward on autopilot. Otherwise, we could just go further and further into a ditch where we can't dig ourselves out of. So a man needs to sit still, assess the past, what he's going to do stepping forward. A woman's autopilot is just like, next guy, find the next guy. Like I remember saw a short clip recently of some wretch that Kevin Samuels was talking to, and she was so entitled and laughing, and she thought that her next plan in life, her next step, because she was middle-aged, was like, well, I guess I'll need to marry rich. It's like, well, I guess I'll need to do that now. Party's over. Let me find a rich chump. Unfortunately, there are a lot of guys. The nerds that never got any women, the women the men that had never had much experience with women in high school and university, all of a sudden now they have money, and now these women that never wanted them, now all of a sudden these women put these men in first place and say, oh, well, I was just waiting around and all these awful guys took advantage of me. I was waiting around for you all along, sweetheart. And it's so sad that these men don't realize that, no, this is exactly the woman that was laughing at you and making fun of you, who was hugging the quarterback and laughing at your misery and pain and how weird you looked and how nerdy you were. And now all of a sudden, your security is really attractive, I suppose. This isn't coffee. It's a mocha. But for anyone who's wondering. Remember, guys, if you want to ask questions, I'm not ignoring some of your questions, but if you don't put some sort of emojis in front of your question, I won't be able to visually see it in the stream. Yeah, and hit the like button, hit subscribe. Yeah, so yeah, the last couple of videos was really me wanting to sort of get guys to take the pressure off themselves. Like, be honest, and it's not for her. It's for you. So for your future happiness, whether it's single or with someone, that you're not on your old autopilot that may have led to a lot of blind spots that caused the breakup. Whether it was your fault or it was mutual, both of you, it was an incompatibility. Like I said, sometimes it's just two nice people that don't fit. Sometimes that's the realization. A couple of my exes are like that. They were perfectly nice people. They weren't manipulative, but we just didn't fit in terms of temperament, personality, values in life, what we wanted. Some were absolutely awful, and I was young and naive. Some acted for the first year or honeymoon period. So, you know, self-reflecting and being honest with yourself is one of the most important things. So I'm just distracted. I can hear the next door neighbor's children outside. They just run around and they just yell incessantly. And you never hear an adult telling them to shut up. Alright guys, Silas950, thank you very much for your super chat donation. He said, wanted to show some support from across the Pacific. Much respect from Minnesota, USA. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. A rocket scientist said, so much truth, human. I was told that I was the dream guy she was looking for. And you probably were in that moment. This is why guys really shouldn't believe what women say. Because in the moment, they do believe it themselves. But women are so in the moment. This is why a lot of pop spirituality, I think, speaks to women. Because they can relate to it, you know. Be in the moment, don't fear the future, don't lament the past. And the women is like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, they understand that because that's where they live. They're just being reminded, you know. Stay sort of like, just think of unicorns and rainbows in the moment, because you can actually think that unicorns exist and rainbows exist from this moment. They could happen. So in the moment, women believe this, but the point is, as a guy, for your own survival, these are one of the challenging things. For your own sake, a woman needs to earn your trust, and even after that, women can change as well. But all you can do is take the time to assess a woman, get to know her, and take the calculated risk if you choose to, or don't be with her. Like, a lot of guys just believe the hype that women market towards them, and it's almost like yeah, I'm kind of nervous, and they don't want to look at the nervous feeling in themselves and assess, like, yeah, I'm nervous because she keeps contradicting herself. I'm nervous because while she's wild and fun, I'm really worried about introducing her to family and friends because she's embarrassing. There are so many instincts and feelings that a guy doesn't want to look at, and he just thinks like, well, I'll just keep her in this corner of my life as some hookup thing or some, and guys are trying to be with very incompatible women that are awful, and just safely keep them like in some corral over here and then get back to their own life. Having more and more part-time relationships where you're better off not having relationships, because you don't even get along with this person. Yeah. Be with people, short or long term, that you get along with. But guys are just taking what they can get these days. Women were always hard to understand and get, how many movies and books are out there, what a woman wants. What does a woman think? The 10 signs to look out for to know if a woman likes you. You don't get any of that from a woman's end. She doesn't care. And she knows she just waits, and she waits for the guys to pick her, and then she sits back and goes, okay, which one should I choose? Or which one should I keep on the line? Martin says, do you think that young men feel the responsibility as well? I'm not sure how much reflection they have today compared to us older men. I think they do. I think there's a lot of instinct involved in human doings, men. I think the environment's so challenging today for guys compared to us that I think men are going through much more mentally, because there's no external structure that can alleviate it. Everything's just mental, because anything can mean anything today. Someone can promise something, break it, and it's completely fine, and you're the idiot. Or, yeah, that was the promise yesterday, but today, like, move on, human. What's wrong with you? Live in the moment. Nothing makes sense. How are you supposed to commit to anything? And when you try and say this, you sort of say, like, I can't commit to anything that keeps moving so much and so often. And they'll say, well, like the woman said to me recently, I feel sad for you. It's like any kind of verbal manipulation to make me do what they want. A man needs to know himself. And when someone's trying to shame him by saying, oh, I feel sad for you, man up, be alpha. Like, all of these things are pushing you to stop thinking and just do what they want. There's a lot of male coaches in the manosphere that are just telling you to man up in a PUA way. In reference to sort of money and financial success, but not much more. It's basically dress yourself up like this, get on stage and work towards pantomime being rich until one day you are rich, and you'll be like Tyler Durden in the bathtub saying, well, I asked my father, what should I do? It's like, go to school. I went to school. What do I do now? Get married. It's like you're going to be asking all these financial gurus online that tell you to make money and go to the gym, and you'll reach the point like an empty husk that's never self-reflected as a man, and then you go, okay, guru, now what do I do? And then they'll tell you, make another $1 million, get a harem of women, and then you'll work towards that mindless thing without ever looking at yourself in the mirror and realizing, I don't even want to do that. Look at all the time and effort it takes me, and I'm exhausted. You look at yourself when you get to 50 and you'll go, who am I? For me, that's one of the scariest things, to get to middle age and then to have to admit, because you can't sleep at night, your health's awful, and you can't go on anymore, and the reason is you're living someone else's life. You're living everyone else's life. The media's, women's, other, macho men's lives, because you're directing yourself in what everyone else wants. And you keep doing it, and your life just keeps going down and worse, and you've got all the shiny stuff, and the moment you start going, okay, what do I really want? What's in my personality? How was I raised? What makes me happy? Where do I want to spend more of my time? Around what kind of people? If I could choose the people I could hang around with more, if I could choose the ideal woman, and I mean realistically, don't sort of like say, I want to be Elon Musk, or know where you are in the hierarchy. Realistically, for your own happiness. When you start asking those kind of realistic questions, your life will get better. And then from there, you can actually aim higher. But if your base is delusional, your life is constantly in quicksand sinking, and you're trying to tread upward to make your next million, to get a better car, to impress women, to rotate women. I mean, some of these guys, even if they get a great girl, they'll rotate them to show off to men that they can rotate and upgrade, and also to abate being left. Like, I'll just, pump and dump, and I'll keep upgrading, I'll keep moving, I'll keep recycling. But that kind of recycling, a lot of the time, just keeps you in place. You become a 50-year-old man that's been acting like a 20-year-old man for a long time, and you don't want to be that kind of person. Jason says, human wants kids. No, I don't. As a one thing I've always been sure I don't want. No, thank you. I like other people's kids, some of them. My niece and well-behaved kids especially, they're fantastic. But it only takes me going to friends' barbecue and seeing the kids scream, hearing the kids scream, and just seeing the look on the other husband's face, the battle-worn look of defeat. I have much more husbands telling me, human, can I swap with your life just for a week, please? I never seem to say the same thing. Look, they do tell me that they've got benefits. Until you have kids, you don't realize what you have. It's kind of like if you're in love with someone and they're a great person, it's hard to describe to another person why. Because it seems like you're reaching, but if you're in it, just like if you're a guy with kids that you love, you can try and use words, but nothing compares to actually being in it and feeling the connection and stuff. I get it, but I've never wanted it, and it's something you should really want, like marriage and things like that, like religion or whatever. Mr. Highway says, has your channel been demonetized, or do you just not run ads? I don't see how your channel could have gotten whacked. The content is pretty tame. Has my channel got whacked, has it? Let me check. Last time I looked, it was it looks live to me. So, I'm not sure what you're talking about, Mr. Highway. You're saying it's been demonetized. Maybe you've got an ad blocker on and you can't see the ads that pop up. So, not sure. Five Spades says, what's your take on a childless Chad moving in with a single mum with 2 kids? Yeah. I suppose you're moving into her house, not yours, but look, you just increase the complexity and risk when you take on single mothers, her children. They're always her children. And it puts her more on your toes to not respect your authority in the house, because basically it's her children, her place, it's her world, and you're just like almost you're an added accessory, like you're the boyfriend, you're the male figure in her life. Whereas if you're a husband and she's the wife, you have some sort of authority, or at least you did have. But when you move in with a single mother, forget it, she's in charge. Even if she sort of gives you the toothless tiger title of being the man, she just wants someone around to take responsibility for the icky stuff, like taking out the garbage and when there's a noise outside. So she wants to give you the role of protecting her, but she's actually in charge. She's the authority because it's her kids. She's She's got like a little reflex now that's going to protect her kids, and she can't relinquish all the responsibility to you. I'd be very careful. I mean, again, guys, look, you guys are going to do what you want. All I can do is just say, keep your head about you and be careful. Gregory says, where have you met high quality friends as an adult? As you get older, it's harder, I realize. Hopefully you've retained some friends and you've got some family. I mean, even family, if you're lucky enough to have some family near you, that's the best, because you've grown up with them and you don't necessarily have to have the same personality. There's a blood connection. But finding new friends are, with the hobbies you have, if you start interacting with them, unless they're solo hobbies like gaming and things like that. But if they're any kind of hobby where, I mean, I remember even back in the day when I was writing and drawing, you can always join groups online that meet every month to show off artwork or writing or whatever the hobby may be. So a lot of even solo hobbies that you do on your own behind the computer at home, locked up in between four walls, often there's groups that meet up once a week. There's photography groups that get out once in a while, and so that's a good way to meet like-minded people, because your central interests are a big part of you. That's the hard thing when guys meet girls. There's absolutely nothing in common that they have with the other person, which is, I suppose, on the surface fine. Men and women are very much incompatible in terms of their hobbies. The only thing most couples, you look at most couples, they the thing they have in common is they want to sleep with each other and they can both eat. So that's why couples that are happy get fat. So the basic things that are compatible between men and women are eating and sleeping with each other. But it's much better to have other things and other values and other hobbies and interests and routines in common. And the best way to do that is find groups where you can catch up with some of those people. That's what I'd recommend if you want to find friends, like-minded friends. Remember, guys, if you want to ask questions, put a couple of emojis next to your questions. Yeah, Matthew says, men need to stop jumping in bed with these humans without getting to know the person and who they really are. Then we whinge when it all goes south. Yeah, and especially today, that guys have this peculiar notion that, I'm doing it safer. I'm hooking up on Tinder with various women, like, one-night stands perpetually. I mean, for me, that's riskier than trying to get to know one person sensibly, using your values, and over time, are they contradicting themselves, or do they reveal themselves to be the person they've marketed to me? So over 6 months or 12 months, has it been consistent? Over a year and a half, are you with the person long enough where you can start trusting it? Because you can't. The death of trust is a big thing. Like, you can't trust anyone if you're having one-night stands and you're having hookups, if you never catch up with friends. The death of trust adds to a lot of security for a guy. Like, when it's just you, you feel like Will Smith in I Am Legend all the time. You got all these people around you that you never touch, figuratively speaking. You never connect with, but you just observe life. You observe people, you talk to them, but they never come into your orbit. It's an odd way. It's a way of a lot of guys feeling more and more alone, because you feel more alone because you see people everywhere, but there is no intimacy. You have no relationships, even platonic ones. It's like being at sea surrounded by water and you can't drink. Just the guy says, there's no such thing as living in the moment. You can only live in the present. That doesn't exclude the relation between past and future. Yes, I agree. Tristan says, great content, tired of the bro advice. Yeah, I'm tired of that too. It's kind of like these middle-aged men talking as though they're, a quarterback in a high school football team. I don't know, not for me. Corey says, Hydro must be ancient. He sounds too wise to be young. Mr. Highway says, the longer I stay monk, the more the matrix breaks down into zeros and ones. You might see a hot blonde, but I see a female of advanced primate species. Eric, thank you very much for the super chat donation. He doesn't ask a question, he just says he's enjoying the presentation. Thank you. Glad you've joined. We've got 240 or so viewers, concurrent viewers at the moment. Remember, guys, if you want to ask a question, put a few emojis. Okay, Mr. Highway's clarified. He was saying that he thought I got demonetized, but he says he's got YouTube Premium now. So I suppose you don't get ads. Bradle says, it's ironic when explaining to a woman their thinking is binary. Their defensive response is also binary. It justifies why explaining is futile. I've noticed with a lot of guys today where their mentors are these dude bros, that it's all just about finances. And this is the funny thing. I was talking last night, I think, with Boffin on Discord, and it's funny. A lot of the major channels today, the most popular ones that are talking about financial success, and a man needs to start a business and get rich, and then somehow he's going to be so far. He's going to have this suit of armor around himself that no woman can touch him. He can't be hurt. Without self-reflecting to know whether or not you want to work and be in finance and make money for money's sake, unless you really love that, all you're going to do is make yourself a massive target for the worst kind of women. It's not like you make yourself rich and drive a sports car and become a billionaire and then the nicest women will want you. This is a completely stupid thing that I suppose guys can't see it, especially the younger you are. You think, oh, great, sports cars, shiny things, fun, excitement, right? But there's nothing wrong with building wealth and making yourself secure in your life. But guys, you make yourself the biggest target by making yourself richer. I'm not saying you shouldn't be stable and financially secure. But what you'll have is every trash bag, every kind of wretched woman will target you. You are going to, like, all these awful women are going to trample all the nice women to get to you, and all these awful women are going to pretend to be the nice girl that was just waiting. These women are going to be the trash that sort of you see in videos on YouTube that guys respond to, like, look how entitled they are. These are the kind of women that are on sort of podcast panels, like I think it's Fresh and Fit and stuff. Like, these women that really are questionable. Yeah, you can laugh at them, but they're the ones that are going to be attracted to you. That's the target you paint on your back by making yourself alpha. You think you're going to get the nice person? You're just going to get an avalanche of low-level women. And without actually being interested in how to think, which I think is the best thing a guy can do, how to think, what he wants, how to speak, how to decide what steps to take in life based on his values. That's what you want. You just don't blindly make money as an empty husk of a guy, get there, and then you go, oh, okay, now I'm like a kid in a candy store, I can have anything. What do you go for? You go for the bright, red, shiny thing. Like Mr. Highway was saying in The Matrix, you go for the blonde in the blue dress. You go for the thing that stands out the most. Unfortunately, like a Ferrari, it's dangerous and expensive. Know thyself. Sorry, it was a bit of a rant, but this is the thing that kind of annoys me a little. They're telling guys, make money, be rich, that somehow you're going to be above danger from that position. You are, but then a lot of guys, quite conveniently, they know that, well, now I can have my pick of women. Yet with what skills, as an empty husk of a man, you're going to pick the worst kind of women, because those women, they go for financially successful men. I know biologically most women do, but to the degree that the richer you are, you're just going to... The wretched women are going to drown out all the nice passive women that you probably want. You know, anyway, enough about that, but just something to think about. Make yourself a rich target. What kind of women are going to flood to you? And are you going to fool yourself into thinking some single mum with a couple of different kids from different guys with tattoos up her neck, and all of a sudden, oh, but she's a really nice girl, and now she wants me. She reminds me of that girl I wanted in high school that never wanted me, but now it's not really about my riches, but somehow the universe has granted me this wonderful woman. Come on. Bradle says, YouTube is prompting with questionnaire whether this content is offensive. Has happened a few times now. That's interesting. Yeah, it's kind of one of these weird things, because anyone can drop in that's not really a subscriber who doesn't like my content, simply because they don't like what I talk about. Not that it's offensive. And they can say no, and then all of a sudden, yeah, I get throttled or banned or something. Black Magic 1087 says, in your past relationships, how much did your common interests and passions contribute to the longevity of your relationship? Did those common interests make your relationship more palatable? Yes. And it's more about how you want to spend your life. It's not that the girl needs to like writing, video, photography, and all these little hobbies that I do on my own. That helps, because then she can understand and not get annoyed that, human's going off into his studio to do blah, blah, blah again. She can understand. It's more values and lifestyles. You can't, if you can't talk with them, if they don't feel like a friend, if you're an introvert and you're trying to date an extrovert, if you're not materialistic and she is, those opposites, those common, they're not common hobbies, but common values. Think of them that way. I think you really need to find someone with common values. A lot of women will just be agreeable and say that they're on the same page as you because they like you. But a lot of women date and love in the same way they go on holidays. It's new, foreign, and exciting, but after a while they want to go home again. They've had enough of being in Morocco or Bali or wherever it is. Women are always moving until they find somewhere where it's home, and they're not conscious of it. They need to find someone with their own values and temperament. And then again, women sort of sabotage even if they do find a match for themselves, because they always want change. They always want to be moving. But in terms of you as a guy, match your values. Not necessarily, she doesn't need to be into the same hobbies, but she needs to understand them and be on the same page and understand where you're coming from in relation to those things. And that comes from temperament and values. The struggle with most people is, even if she's a nice person, It's two incompatible personalities and two different values that are trying to, sledgehammer a relationship together. It never works. Hey, Quasimandias, how you going, man? Haven't seen you in a while. He says, if you live as a high-quality person that does high-quality things, one will meet high-quality people on occasion, but one cares less about that as one's quality increases. That's true, because if you start to be enamored and wrap yourself up in enjoying your life because of how you're interacting with it, part of that is the relationship you have not only with the things. I've always said, relate to things and people. Be conscious enough to be doing that. And if you're in that sort of loop, it's very easy to recognize, okay, this hobby isn't for me. This movie, this genre isn't really for me. I'll give it a small try, but okay, I'll come back to who I am. Similarly with people, you can fairly civilly and friendly say hello and goodbye to someone and be polite, but you don't let them into your life. You don't let them into your life for some desperation of not really knowing where you stand and what your values and ethics are. So the more, in terms of what Quasimandias is saying, and I don't want to speak for him, is the more you esteem yourself in terms of a quality of what you want and who you want to be, and you kind of, in the same way, you know what food you like, you know what movies and genres you like. No one tells you that way. Try and implement a bit of that confidence and knowing in terms of trying to form your values and morals and ethics around people and things. And you'll start to sort of be able to naturally filter what is not you and what is you. Stop trying everything over and over again. How many times do you have to try going out with a single mother who's a stripper? I'm giving an exaggerated example, but you know what I mean. Respect your own life and keep vertically making yourself better, and even horizontally expand your life. And then you'll start to be further and further away from things. You won't even want to reach for them, the things that aren't you. Remember to put some emojis near your questions, guys. Otherwise, I might not be able to see them. Stay and Drown says, dating apps just prove that deep down everyone is a marketing specialist. Yeah, that's the peculiar thing. Everyone's becoming so self-referential. We're all becoming more and more solipsistic, more narcissistic. I read somewhere that the current online and social media environment is generating narcissists. Not in the kind of glib popular term, but in a very clinical way. If you want to categorize people with those kind of traits, it's generating narcissists. And what's also curious too is that you may be naturally an introvert or leaning in that direction, or you may be naturally an extrovert. Today's environment is actually frustrating extroverts too, I think, because you want to be out and about and go to parties and be more of an extroverted personality, but extroverts are now being forced to live introverted lives because so much is online. So much of life is curated online, and people are lying and marketing themselves like, buy me. But wait, free set of steak knives. They're selling you the song and dance of the marketing. They're selling you who they want to be online, pouting lips, women telling you how great they are. If you kind of look closely, if you don't spend enough time using your own judgment around people, especially if you go on a date, give enough time to see if a woman is consistent over time, if she contradicts what she said yesterday compared to today, if her words match her actions over time. I have to keep repeating over time. Because women are pretty good at slaloming, between reality to get to where they want. The finish line of you and a ring on her finger. It's very good to take this stuff seriously for your own sake, not just as an intellectual exercise, but philosophically. Developing your own moral philosophy, I think, is very essential today for a guy, because if you don't, being homeless is very real in today's environment, given the way the world is, and potentially going further. So take your moral philosophy very seriously, and that includes how you interact in any kind of relationship, whether it's platonic or romantic. Think twice. Take a lot of time. There's a lot of mirages going around, especially on dating sites. A lot of men are buying mirages and then paying for those mirages later on. Yeah, Mr. Boffin says, thumbs up button, guys. Thumbs up. Your name might or might not be entered into a draw for a date for Melinda Gates. Mr. Donnie Mac, thank you very much for the super chat donation. He says, I've enjoyed your videos and it helped me talk to my friends through their breakups as well as my own. Good. I'm glad. Men need to talk more. Enough of this bravado of like, yeah, she was just this kind of low-value woman and now I'm an alpha and I'm going to roll a dice and not reflect. I'm just going to be more Chad. If I wear this mask, this will be successful. It's like, no. You're successful in life when you take the mask off. Yeah, Wet Palette Warrior says that's a good point, Human. The best women aren't seeking out high-value men. In terms of like what they market as high-value men today, and a lot of these dude bro life coach channels in the manosphere, they're marketing you to be more vulnerable than you were. You think your life is precarious and you can't get women and you're an introvert and you don't want to be taken advantage of? Well, listen to these rich gurus who think that the road to happiness for a man is just monetary and financial success. You're going to make your life worse if you don't self-reflect. Money is only so much of an insulation. It is to a degree, but it's also a massive target for the worst kind of women. Really, women with great values, or you want to use the cliche term, high-value women, they're really not going to notice rich guys as much as the worst kind of women. The worst kind of women are going to notice the rich guys. Remember that, guys, whenever you're listening to these financial gurus saying that, don't worry about philosophy, introspection, reading books. The only book you should be reading is this, The 10 Steps to Financial Success. That's the only stoic. It's Marcus Aurelius with dollar signs. Mr. Highway says, if you are so desperate for women that you would put in years of grueling work on your money and body, you should be desperate enough to just go and pay for them. Yeah. If you can get off on that, it's probably more sensible. Most guys can't. I'm one of those guys that couldn't. My brain can't not notice when something's fake. So as soon as I start seeing, even in relationships, when I can actually see that she doesn't care, that the loving, caring side is not reflected in how she acts, the mask has dropped, I can't pretend to be with them. I can't. Even for my own sake to feel good, I can't stay in a space that's not genuine. Now, look, it could be a fault, and it's probably a lot of the reasons why, I could have still been with a couple of my exes to this day if I pretended that I didn't see what I saw, that I pretended that reality wasn't as it is, for her own sake, because women can tend to do that. They can live in unreality. They can go along with it. They can keep moving their world around, creating a fiction and living in a fiction. I can't live in a fiction. It's also a big difference between how women are romantic and how men are. My romantic side always is more sort of that classical, practical one, where romantic to me is being able to talk to the person, doing everyday things, my routines that I do normally, just talking with each other, just the everyday stuff you do with family and friends on your own. That to me is highly romantic, especially with someone you have with you. Romantic to me wasn't ever these holiday external show-offy things, Again, know thyself, gentlemen. Know what your values are. Know what romantic means to you. Know what love means to you. Know what a good friend means to you. You know what trust is, and you can't pretend to trust someone when you don't, especially if objectively you know that your feelings about it and your intuition is spot on. And if you keep pretending to be around women that you really don't trust and you really don't want to be with, but your biology is just saying, don't let her go, you start to not trust yourself, your own instincts. It's an awful way to live. I mean, some people sort of say, oh, human, it's easy for you. I can only think and speak and live this way in a buoyant fashion if I'm on my side, if I trust reality, if I take time to maintain the things that are important to me, my values and things like that, the things that my family and friends respect about me. All these things I lubricate in my life and I maintain that I'm happy with. You let them go, you let them atrophy, you let them rust, you let them die, and all of a sudden the world's leading you. Women are leading you. Biology's leading you. All these things hook into you, try to lead you, but the more you can fortify yourself, the better it is for you. Etoli Noir says, what about the men who desired to get women they wanted to start a family with has been surpassed by their resentful state and now just want to get rich to get back at women to pump and dump and reject? Yeah, you can do that, but once you get there, you find that all the effort you spent years and years and years of your life, and you'll be going, now what? It's like these people that... It could also be there's a lot of people who are very goal-orientated. I've never been goal-orientated. Goals and things I want to do are like a compass, a direction to point myself in, but I get off on actually being in a space that I can enjoy. I like the process. I like the journey, as cliche as that word sounds today. But I'm not goal-orientated. I'm direction-orientated, but not goal-orientated. And so a lot of guys, they listen to the hype of like make $1 million and they blindly get there. They don't care that the ends always justify the means. Doesn't matter how they get there, even to the detriment of their own life. And they get the $1 million and it's like, okay, well, the next million or billion. It's like, okay, great. Just sort of seeing a lot of impotent rich people, figuratively speaking, not literally. It's a nice way for society and the powers that be to sort of keep a man a non-threat. Yeah, go make your $1 million and chasing women. Don't self-reflect. Just the guy says, do you think a relationship based on mutual interest rather than love is really so morally reprehensible when you consider all the marriage horror stories we hear? It takes maturity, though. Yeah, I would actually say that's a good one. Just the guy. It's better to actually base a relationship on mutual interest and mutual values rather than love. I'd say that you, in a secondary sense, would be better served to talk about love once the essential foundations of mutual interest and mutual values are set. That should be love. We should really equate love for a man to be mutual interest and mutual values and a shared moral philosophy. I really think love should be like a sort of something glib you talk about after you got your stable base set in terms of like a mature grounding. Yeah, I think that's a good way to be. Yeah, don't worry about love, guys. It takes care of itself if you've got a stable foundation of mutual respect and interest and values and morals and things like that. Optimus Primeval says, would you say that the fundamental like or dislike... Would you say that you fundamentally like or dislike women, i.e. do the positive aspects of femininity outweigh all the toxic stuff? Today's modern woman, today's modern feminist woman, throat's still 99% there, not quite 100. It's a bit tickly. The modern woman, I don't think much of her at all. It's not true. I don't like women's nature these days. Let loose. In general, yeah, there are individual women who, as individual people, you can talk to and they prove themselves to be different to the rest. But in general, I don't think much of women today at all. I want to, but the way they are, I take reality as it is. You look at the media, you look at what women are trained as, you go to barbecues, you listen in public the way women talk, how they conduct themselves. They are just not dateable, let alone marriageable. And unfortunately, even if they need your help in the street, sometimes you question whether or not you just give them a helping hand because of the way they act. Because this is the thing where men take into account the past and the future to build society going forward and how to live their lives. A man will always look at his past, and if he sees a woman acting a little bit like his ex that ruined him and treated him awfully, he doesn't care about her. Men are caring less about women, but justifiably so. Women are disrespecting and not caring about men unjustifiably. They're just believing the hype. And so life is just getting worse for women, I think, in a lot of respects. They keep marketing that, life is great and free for women if they focus on careers. But then once they pass middle age and they're invisible with their tub of ice cream, a la Bridget Jones, no one talks about it. Samuel, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. His comment is human. Did you get a chance to see the JBP and Stephen Fry interview recently? No, I've actually seen it in my feeds, but I haven't actually seen it. It's the Jordan Peterson and Stephen Fry interview. Do you have any opinions on the differences between rationalism and empiricism? And maybe your thoughts on sacrifice. I haven't actually watched the video. I really should. I've seen it in my feeds. But sometimes you see a YouTube video, and more I've gotten disappointed where I actually think it's that video, but then when you click on it, it's a guy making a spoof video. There's been a few times where I've seen a thumbnail saying, Jordan dunks on LeBron, and then you click on it and it's someone just recording them playing NBA Jam, or an ESPN video game, or fake trailers to movies that haven't happened. It really annoys me. So sometimes when you just see these little thumbnails, you don't take them as seriously as you should. But yeah, that's one that I need to sort of see. I noticed that after my videos, I get a lot of Jordan B. Peterson recommendations for people afterwards, which I suppose isn't as bad as the dating videos that people get. That annoys me. Why are they feeding people dating advice after my videos? Ben RP, thank you for the super chat. He says, yep, had a 24-year-old out of shape hair hat tried to get at me yesterday. I work with her. She's cute, but not my type. What's the saying? Keep your head on a swivel. Yeah. Stay frosty. Whatever glib saying you want to use. Stay alert, guys. It's the rest of your life you're rolling the dice with. Don't play it ultra safe. Take recoverable risks, but don't jump out of a plane without a parachute that you've packed. Yeah, Naylor says, just got tired of having to perform game, make her laugh, all the other trappings for maybe a date. I like when I was dating, I always went on dates looking forward to meeting a potential friend, just looking forward to having a conversation with a nice person. That's it. You've really got to have that skeptical side that she's probably the same as all women, but at the very least, I'm going to have a nice time potentially with a nice person. And if you set the bar there, realistically, then it's very apparent when she's not good for anything bar, okay, this was a night, I got out, not a nice person at all, nowhere near anywhere near anyone that I want to date or be with. What would your mother and your best friends and family say if you brought them home? That's another good one. Todd says, pick one YouTube video, red pill bro advice or red pill red meat. Like Fresh and Fit and Kevin Samuels. Look, I have nothing against a lot of those channels. Some of those guys are good. Like some of them, you probably have a good conversation. For instance, Kevin Samuels seems like a fairly switched on guy. Like I like him as a personality. Who else? I like Greg Adams as well. He seems like a cool guy too. But my kind of thing is it's just some of these other guys. You think what are they? They're just not my cup of tea. Like I like learning how to be and think better. And even if you're talking about, let's face it, a lot of my videos, I'm not talking about very complex, deep topics, but I'm trying to talk about them in a deeper way than most guys do. Like I want, because a lot of the basic stuff guys don't talk about, and either they ignore completely or they go straight for kind of biology, neurochemistry, nature, financial, like all these like over the horizon big world umbrella things that then can kind of maybe explain their intimate lives, whereas the problem is your proximal personal subjective life. That's the thing you got to make sense of. You can inform yourself by objectivity, science, women, money, all that kind of stuff, what women are like generally, sure, but you only make a difference in your proximal personal subjective life, what you want to do. Biology tells us all that we need to reproduce and make money and be a protector and provider. You can blindly be a lemming and be that guy and then be buried later in your life. Or you can be conscious and go, what do I want to do? Does my conscious self outweigh my primal directive? If not, yeah. Pump our kids, watch the football, get a beer gut, and then, die one day. Fine. But if there's something that's pulling you in a different direction, if you've got some intellectual curiosity or something else in you that you can't deny, I don't know what to tell you. Wet Palette Warrior says, online is each person being their own Wizard of Oz, pretending to be something they are not whilst pulling the strings behind the curtains. Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. Roy says, picking a woman is like picking a dog. You have to find what type fits your lifestyle. Yeah. Even me, up in the future, like I'll probably get a dog. Depends. But I think it'll be when I can have all my time to take care of the dog. and be fully responsible. But if I do get a dog, it's going to be something that fits my temperament. Quiet, it doesn't yap, minimal maintenance, well behaved, easily trained, not a lot of hair. Basically, I want a very low maintenance, very quiet dog. Again, that's probably why I haven't had a dog so far, because realistically, when I look at it, I'm not prepared to sort of do that and to be responsible for so much in my life. Look, I'm just being honest, but I may get a dog if it's the perfect low maintenance dog in the future. MGTOW Biologic says, it's sad from an empathy perspective to continue to watch women go off a cliff like Thelma and Louise with their SMV. Can't fix it, just sad for those guys that would like a family. Yeah, I feel like my generation, especially and onward, it's especially if you're sensible enough you've been raised responsible, you just can't throw your life away. There's only so much, all right, I'll tolerate this much, but you can't tolerate everything. Like I've said, most guys will be happy with giving women 80% of what they nag for in relationships, as long as they get respect and at least 20% for themselves of what they find important. Men don't care about working all day, whereas when they come home, they don't want to have to do the dishes too and listen to all the nagging and say, well, I want to go out. I've been stuck at home all day. Well, I've been stuck out all day. I want to just stay home. ASYNC. It says, everyone has personality, but not everyone has character. Character is played with yes and no. That is why it is necessary to have a philosophy of life. Yep. And especially today, a lot of the younger generation proudly throw away religion. But if you're not philosophically minded, I think a lot of people could do with religion, because religion's the easiest one that is handed to you ready-made, about doing the basics and how to treat people. So if you don't like philosophy and you've got no intellectual push to form your own moral philosophy, you're just going to be fed the philosophy of society and women and gynocentrism and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of dangerous today. The majority of people need religion simply because all human beings need a philosophy by which to direct their lives. If you're not developing your own, you're a sitting duck to everyone's, to women's, to societies, to marketing, to media, to you name it. You got a big target on your back. Hit the like button, guys, and hit subscribe. Help the channel out if you can. It's free. Thanks to all you guys as well this month who've subscribed on Patreon, who are supporting me, and also on PayPal too. I really appreciate it, guys. Fortis Huckleberry says, second guessing yourself will make you live to regret it. Yeah, just imagine that, a life of always second guessing yourself and looking to women and society. Am I doing it right? Can you pat me on the head? Can you love me? Think of yourself as your own child. How sorry would you feel if your own kid was acting like you? Mr. Highway says, have you ever noticed everyone is pretending to be a lot more busy than what's reasonably probable? You would think they are the CEO of a Fortune 500 company with how busy they claim to be. It's all fake. It's true. Everyone's an entrepreneur. I was over at parents last night, and there's those the reality shows where there's always a couple, they're either moving to another country and they're buying apartments or they're flipping houses, and the husband's always like, he's a chemist or he's a lawyer or something, and the wife is an entrepreneur or she's in the fashion industry, and it's just kind of a stay-at-home bimbo who's just kind of tinkering with stuff. I don't label myself a writer because I write, because that would imply I'm a professional writer. But I like to write. But yeah, people label themselves anything. I'm an Instagram model. Like, when you can actually just give yourself a title without any hierarchy or a door you need to pass through to sort of earn the title by your peers. That's, I think, what was good in the past. You had to pass through your peers and they would give you your title. Then other people could trust it. It's like, yeah, there was a quality standard by which that person got the title. I can trust this title. But now when you can actually give yourself any title, like women on a date saying, I'm fantastic, I'm too nice, I'm marriage material. Be very skeptical about how people describe themselves. Take note and then start looking at their actions over time to see if they are how they market themselves. Roy says, Human, have you read the book Numbers by Aaron Clarey? No. Christian says, I ended a relationship a few years back, haunted me ever since, kicked out of university and broke down. Any tips? Feels like stranded on an island here. Again, friends and family, be around them. Don't be on your own. Again, there's a lot of more extroverted people that are trying to cope today with a lot of this pain on their own, which is really hard. You're better off being around people. But even if you're an introvert, when you go through this stuff, you don't want to be stuck in here. Put your head in a book. Let another more eloquent person speak to you through paper, through a story, through words. Be around people, elders, family, friends. If you can't, last resort, if you have to, try and find a sympathetic therapist or someone you can talk to professionally. But go around until you can find someone who can understand what you've been through, preferably a male, not a female. But then again, there's a lot of feminized males in that industry too. So just be very careful. Excuse me. Jay Witchman says, you say that your temperament is particularly attuned to fakeness. In the same vein, do you agree that sugar daddy arrangements are completely contrived? If both people are completely honest, then the sugar daddy's okay with it, and he's not deluding himself that, oh, well, I know I'm paying for her, but deep down she really likes me and there's potential. She'll soon be able to fall in love with me and the money won't matter. That's where it gets dangerous. If you're both completely clear about things and you're not fooling yourself, then Stay and Drown says, hey, Human, any favorite books you would recommend? I'm curious to know what you read. At the bottom of my blog, I've put a few book recommendations in my About section. You can get to my blog. I haven't updated it for a while, but yeah, book recommendations are down there. Any final questions, guys? Come on, let's wrap it up. It's nearly an hour and a half. This is a nice one. I don't think my voice can handle 2+ hours. Yeah, Naylor says most of the red pill side now is basically game. PUA 2.0. I agree. It's all the manosphere now is very thinly veiled PUA now. It's just kind of become more and more obvious. I mean, you've got these, like the Fresh and Fit podcast is interesting. I've got nothing against it, but like, there's more and more channels popping up. They're like the PUA version of The View. It's like, what are guys getting out of it? Getting bimbos on board to sort of talk about women. You think they care? They're like the bimbos you get on board in these panels. They're like the Kardashians. They're spoilt rich kids who want to argue and shout and prove how great they are and show off and prance around. There's just a lot of peacock going on, both from men and women, in a lot of manosphere content, and not a lot of just trying to convey knowledge, what you think, any kind of philosophical reflection on who you are in relation to women, what you think's going on, how you might be able to direct your life better, things like that. Real sort of personal and proximal sort of discussions about what's going on in individuals' lives that might be common with other men and women, what we can all learn, how you can make your life better, men and women, to go forward. It's just all kind of a view panel talking about what they see. I'm rich and this woman left me, and women are like this and men are like this, and high value men and high value women, and yada, yada, yada. Tony, Better Bachelor is good red pill content too. Yeah, I don't mind Better Bachelor. He's a fairly switched on guy. Philippe says, can you make a video on handling the loneliness that comes from the MGTOW? I don't think loneliness comes from MGTOW. It's, guys, don't forget what the acronym actually spells out. It's going your own way. It's thinking for yourself. If you don't have an interest and a hunger and a will to be self-reflective and intellectually curious and develop your own moral philosophy, which is going your own way intellectually and mentally, if you can't be bothered, it's not interesting to you, it's going to be lonely because you're drifting off on your own without a paddle. So you're better off staying religious, being traditional, keeping women at a distance and only relating to people romantically or platonically as far as you can trust them, but don't try to be somebody else. You know, like you can look at Elon Musk, but you don't fool yourself into thinking you can become him when you really can't. Know who you are. Don't jump 10 steps ahead before you see if you can actually take steps in that person's shoes. So MGTOW is learning how to think for yourself and looking at reality and making better choices. It's kind of like not a lifestyle club that you join with other guys collectively. That's kind of the term's been diluted as well. That's why I don't self-identify anymore as an MGTOW, because in terms of people you can talk to around that acronym, they don't really exist anymore. And most of the guys that did at one point back in the golden age of MGTOW self-identify and would proudly say, yeah, I'm a man going his own way. They don't use the acronym as well because it doesn't mean anything anymore. Just the guy says, sell me adopting a pet. Hint, you can't, too much responsibility. Yeah, I like the idea of a dog, like I like the idea of getting a motorcycle at the moment. Ratzel says, how to deal with burst of nihilism. Recognize it's just a burst. If it happens every day, then you've got a problem. That's different. Yeah, MGTOW by Logic says something to remember. He says, women can't even interpret each other. They don't even like each other. Why would a man look to that for leadership? Yeah, don't listen to women when they're telling you how to do relationships or what women want. Women don't know what they want. From day to day, they keep changing their minds. I think I've mentioned in a video, and there's a few studies and videos on YouTube where when women talk about, oh, you got to read the signals, you guys are too stupid, you don't pick up on the obvious signals. They've done a few studies where they showed both men and women sending off signals to men in relationships, and almost 10 out of 10 men couldn't read the signals. Surprise, surprise, according to women. But then also 9 out of 10 women couldn't read other women's signals. So women can't even read other women's signals and then telling us we're stupid. No, women are avoidant and too aloof, that they're being relationship cowards, and then foisting all the responsibility when nothing goes wrong onto men because they don't want to face that, maybe I should have done things differently. Next time as a woman, when I go forward, I'm going to be more direct. I'm going to tell him who I am. I'm going to show who I am. But, yeah, women still want to play the lazy. Black Magic 1087 PSA. If any of you guys is struggling with forgiveness and suffering, watch this video I found the Thinking Ape channel. It's called Love Spetsnaz. This got me through the week. Yeah, Spetsnaz has done quite a couple of good videos. He recently did a Lost Tapes videos. Have a look at it online. I think you can find it. There's a couple. It's been mirrored on a couple of guys' channel. It's a few conversations. It's about an hour and a half long, and over this last year and a half during the lockdown, he's stitched together quite a few little musings about his thoughts about men. It's really, really good. So go search it out. I think it's called The Lost Tapes by Spetsnaz. All right, guys. Let's have the last questions, and we'll call it a day. Omega Sigma says, if the genders have 3 things in common, sleeping, eating, and sex, ID mode, leaving little in common in the ego and superego modes, then is the pair bonding paradigm unstable by design? Yeah, but we also had a social structure by which to kind of help both stay in line. It's kind of like when you go to work, you have to curb your own subjective self to sort of dress a certain way and act a certain way during work. So the job of relationships had a certain structure that you had to abide by, but now it's kind of like each individual is going into relationships being completely selfish. People are basically going to work in their pajamas and yelling at everyone and trying to dominate. They're not attending, like, at least the structure of a relationship or marriage or whatever it was before in society. You would at least pay service to the structure a little bit. Like, I'm married, so I'm going to be respectful to the marriage. Now it's like, I'm not respecting anybody but myself. I'm the sun. I'm everything. Everyone revolves around me. But the other person is thinking that way too. So if there's no structure that you both serve, like previously people would serve a religion, you'd serve a marriage, you'd serve the kids, you'd serve society, you'd serve your role in your job. Now no one's serving anything, and everyone's fighting each other. All right, guys, if there's no more questions, please hit the like button, subscribe. And don't forget to also subscribe to my new chat channel. I'm going to be hosting all my longer conversations with people there. It's a nice way of separating the content on my current channel, because most of the content on my main channel is like my short videos where it's just me talking about an idea. And then I do a long conversational video, and I don't think the algorithm understands. It's kind of like, okay, long video, short video. Okay, your runtime was long on this one, it was really short on this one, it's not doing well, and so it doesn't know how to make sense of my channel. And also, a lot of the people who are watching, some people like long content, some people like short content, so I think just separating them, it's just a way of organizing. So please subscribe to my chat channel, and whenever I do conversations with people, I'll post it there. The link to that is on the top right hand corner of my banner, and it should be in the about section as well. So yeah, and sub and like the current channel. Let's keep it going. Otherwise, if it's if all I hear is crickets, I suppose it'll be quieter from me as well then. So yes, I'm back from my throat infection, kind of. MGTOW Biologic says pair bonding seems not needed beyond 4 to 8 years from a strictly biological standpoint. Probably why marriages last 7 years on average. Maybe. But then again, to me, I don't like investing long-term into anything that's just going to be thrown away for no reason at all. I mean, I wouldn't throw away my friends and family. All right, guys. I hope everyone has a good day. In Melbourne here, we're kind of confined indoors again because of what's going around. A day or two ago, all of a sudden we had 3 cases, then 8 cases, and then 16, and so we're locked down until next Thursday. So I'll probably be producing a video or two. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. And as always, keep your head about you. Know your words. Be interested in your moral philosophy. Take care of your subjective self. Stop focusing so much on... Don't live your life objectively out there as a man. Understand yourself as who you are, who happens to be a guy. From that standpoint. Think about the I sympathetically of who you are a little bit more, and then inform it by men, biology, the structure, dating, all that stuff. See how it informs you. Don't be myopic to yourself, if that makes sense. Anyway, guys, thanks. It was a good chat, good stream, and I'll see you soon. Bye.